In today's tutorial, I am going to go through how to automate sending a proposal, contract, and invoice in Dubsado. I'm not only just going to go over that, but I'm going to go over how to create project statuses. I'm going to go over how to create payment plans. This is going to be building out your whole booking workflow. So let's dive into what you need. You're going to need for this workflow setup. You're going to need to set up your proposal with all of your packages in the proposal, and we need to have the correct contract attached with the invoice turned on. Also to have the expiry turned on to that proposal as well. And we're going to set up your contract with smart fields, so it pulls through all of that information from your proposal into your contract. You literally do not have to touch your contract. It can just get sent out to the client and all automated. We're going to set up your payment plan that's going to be attached to the workflow, and also to create the project statuses for that particular workflow. So proposal sent after the proposal has been sent out to the client, waiting for payment after they've signed the contract but they haven't quite paid the invoice yet. Also onboarding. So once they have completed the proposal, they've completed the contract, they've paid the invoice, we're going to put them into that onboarding project status, so we know that they're in that stage of the journey ready for either sending out your scheduler or sending out a onboarding questionnaire, whatever your process is after they complete their proposal and they're booked to work with you. And then we're also going to go through adding canned emails with smart fields into Dubsado. I have a blog post that I'm going to go through as well, which has all of the canned emails that you need for this. You'll be able to click onto that blog post and you'll just be able to copy and paste in those canned emails and customize them into your Dubsado. So let's dive in. That we're going to do before we set up a proposal, a contract, and build out the workflow is we are going to add in our packages. So the packages are what you want your client to be able to select on the proposal. So you can easily just do this by add a package. Then I'm just going to quickly do this here so I can show you how to add it into your proposal. So I'm just going to do test package, name the title, invoice name, and then you can pull for a description. I'm just going to quickly grab that now. So once you've added in your description, you can add your quantity, you can add your price, and you can also add your category as well. So if you want to add an existing category, you can select from the drop down, or you can add a new category by clicking this button here. Once you've returned to the packages, you can duplicate the package that you've just done, or you can add as many packages as you need for your proposal. So now, once we've done that, let's now dive over to payment plans. This particular workflow, I'm going to set up a new payment plan. So I'm going to create new template. For this payment plan, I'm going to have payment after the contract is signed, and then the second payment is going to be 2 weeks before project start date. So let's set that up now. So I'm going to add an installment, and I'm going to click to set this as relative, and it's going to be 0 days, contract signed by client. I want it to be divided equally. And this is where you're going to set in your reminders. This is so important. A lot of people might skip this step, but this is what is going to really automate all of your systems for you, so you don't have to chase those clients. So for the reminders, I've already put my canned emails in here, but I'm going to show you my blog post where you'll be able to grab all of these canned email templates. So for this, it's going to be after contract signed. So if they sign the contract and then they don't pay, then this invoice reminder is going to go out to tell them that they need to pay. So I want to do this, I'll give them a little bit of time. So I'm going to do 1 day due date. For the canned email, I have this template, so I will show you this in a minute. So I'm going to do invoice after contract signed and hit apply. So this is going to go out 1 day after the contract is signed, and then I'm going to add another reminder, and I'm going to do 3 days after due date, and I'm going to do the final, which is going to be final reminder after contract signed, not paid. So I'm just going to quickly dive into my blog post and show you exactly what these canned emails are saying as well. So for the first canned email, after contract signed, not paid, it's just saying action required, and it's letting them know that if they don't make the payment, then you can customize this. If you don't make the payment, then basically the project is not secured. And these include smart field links, so this would link to the invoice. And then the second canned email is the final reminder, and just letting them know that if they don't make payment, then basically the contract is void and the project is not secured. I've also got a couple of other emails as well. So I've got, for the second part, which we're going to go through now, I've got these emails. So you can grab this from the blog post in the comments. So then we're going to add the second installment. So the second installment is going to be relative, and it's going to be 14 days before project start date. We're going to divide the amount equally, so it's 50%, and this is where it's going to be coming in really handy with these reminders. So for the first one, it's going to be 2 days before the due date, which is letting them know that the invoice is going to be due soon, so it's giving them a bit of a heads up. Then the second one is going to be on the due date, so the invoice is due today, please make payment. Then the next one is going to be 3 days after due date, and this is letting them know that now the invoice is overdue. And then the final one is the most important one that you are going to do. So I'm doing 6 days after due date. You can do whatever time frame you want, but for this one, this is adding a sense of urgency. So it is going to tell them, okay, this is your final notice, and this is where you can pull through the terms of your contract onto the invoice and let them know that if this isn't going to be paid today, then there's going to be extra fees added to that invoice. Need any help with the customization of the canned emails for these, like I said, you can head to the description and you can click on that blog post, which will take you through to all of these canned emails for you to upload into your Dubsado. That is how to add your payment plan with your invoice reminders to implement into your workflow. Now that we have this set up, we can go through the next stage. You might be thinking, oh, okay, let's set up our proposal. No, we're not going to do that yet. We are going to go under projects, and we're going to go and set up some project statuses. So like the ones that I said before, I know that I've got a couple of these set up because I'm using a demo account. So I'm going to go to customize. So now we're going to add a status, and the first status that I want to add is going to be under lead, because once we sent the proposal to them, they're still not booked until they actually sign the contract and pay the invoice. So they're still under lead, but I want to know everyone that I've sent a proposal to. So I'm going to add a project status for this, and it's going to be proposal sent, and I'm going to save that. So after we send out the proposal, they're going to automatically go into this project status. I've already actually set up this one because I did a tutorial. So I've also done waiting for payment here because they're not booked until they are. So they're not a job until they've actually paid that invoice. And then the final one I've already set up here, which is onboarding after they've signed the contract and everything. So now we've got that set up, we can now dive into our proposal. So let's head over to our forms tab. And from here is where you can create your proposal. I have a couple of templates that I sell on my shop. So if you wanted to purchase one of them and add your packages and branding in, it's really, really easy. I'll go through it all the step by step of how to do that. But for this, I'm just going to duplicate one. In this proposal, the main thing that you are going to want to do is obviously customize with your branding, but you will want to add in your packages. So we have just created that package previously. So now that you've created that package, you can simply click on the icon, pencil icon. You can go to this arrow here, and then you can find that new package. So this is the Dubsado one. If you click this icon to save, then you'll see through all of the description information, because we are using some smart fields. So I'm using the smart field for package name here, and then I'm also using the package description here. So you will find this under package smart fields. If you drop down, this is package item names and description is the one that I'm using here, and package name is the top one. And then I'm pulling through the total here. So if you want to know more about customizing buttons, I've got some other tutorials on YouTube about how to do that as well. So what you just need to do is go through, add in your packages, customize it however you want it to be. You can also add in some additional packages as well, as options to add on. Another thing to note is you can have this package pre-selected. So this means that this is going to allow them to not have to submit the button because it's already submitted for them, and it will pull the total onto the bottom. So you'll see now that as I've pre-selected the package, it's pulling through that total. It's already showing that that package is selected, so they don't have to pre-select it. So you can see here, this package is already pre-selected for them. You can pre-select packages and remove the button so they can't turn it off. So if you've only got one package, then I would definitely say that it's a good idea to remove the button and pre-select it, because then they don't have to faff around with pressing any buttons and submitting anything. The second thing that you need to do is you need to add in your information section. So you can add in, obviously, the first name and the last name, email address. These are things that would have already been picked up from the lead capture form. But if you have additional things that you need to ask them to pull through onto the contract, this is where to do it. So if you need to know their address or information that you can create custom map fields for, then you can pull that through onto the contract. And I'll show you how to do that now. You can add in a short answer and create your own custom map fields if you need specific information from them. And then what you can do is click on it, you can paste over the question, you can make it a required field. And here is where you can select on the drop down of the custom map field that you have created. So I haven't created any, so I'm just going to pop this in here to show how we are going to map this over to the contract field. Once you're happy with it, you can just save the form. Then we're going to go into form settings. So from here, you want to have your contract included. If you want them to be able to select multiple packages, you can turn this on. If you only want them to be able to select one package, then you can turn this off. We want to include the invoice. You can allow for discounts if you want to. We are not attaching the payment plan here because we are attaching it to the workflow. And then here is where you can add your expiration date. So I'm going to add it as relative. Then I'm going to add it after applied to contracts, and I'm going to say I want it to expire 14 days after it has been applied to that project. Once you've done that, you can save the form. Now what we're going to do is go into the contract and add the correct smart fields. I'm going to use this sample contract here. So by default, Dubsado actually puts in all of the information that you will need in your contract for smart fields. It will pull through the client name, company name. You can customize this really easily by pasting in your content. The main things that you are definitely going to want to include in your contract, which they have already got here, is your invoice packages. So this pulls through everything that they have selected on the proposal. Also the payment schedule, so you know that 50/50 that we are setting up, this is going to pull through that payment plan, so they'll be able to see it and sign off on it, and also the total invoice of everything that they have selected on the proposal. You might also want to include a section for project start date, project end date. You just need to make sure that you are mapping these within the client's project before you send this out, otherwise it will be blank. So that is one thing to know. Once you have set up your contract, you can save and exit. Now that you've set up your packages, your payment plan, your project statuses, and your proposal and contract, we can now dive into creating that workflow. The workflow tab and click add new workflow. Here is where we can title it. So this is going to be booking. You can do the title of your proposal. First thing that we are going to do is add that payment plan. So this is going to allow us to trigger off of the back of those specific dates. So the first payment of after contract being signed, and then the second payment 14 days before project start date. Very important that we add it into the workflow and not onto the proposal, because we are sending this proposal through a workflow so we can automate it. The next step is to add an action, and we're going to create a to-do. Assign a user as yourself, And we're starting with a to-do is because we want to be able to customize that proposal before it gets sent out. If we start with send form, that's going to send out the form straight away. And we don't want that. We want to be able to customize the packages before we send it out to the client, because it might be slightly different every single time for every client. We can still use the same template, but customize the price of the package before it gets sent out. So by adding a to-do, it's going to allow us to check off when we want to send this out and not go out straight away. So 0 days after workflow started, and then you can write yourself a to-do. Be something really simple, customize packages, and then pull through the client's full name. And you don't need to send an email or reminder because you will already be in the system doing this. So it's just going to allow you to pause it before it gets sent out. So we're going to hit apply. The next step is going to be sending out the proposal. So we're going to send form. I'm going to put 10 minutes after all previous actions. So once this to-do gets ticked off, this is going to go out 10 minutes after. I'm going to select that proposal. And then I have all of these canned emails set up in my blog post down in the description below. So you can click on that and you can copy these canned emails into your Dubsado. I'm going to pull through the form title and your brand name, and it gives you the option to customize this email. Next step, what we are going to do is change the project status. So straight after that proposal gets sent out, we want them to automatically go into that project status of proposal sent. So we can see every single proposal we have sent out to a client. The next step is we are going to do a couple of follow-ups, because if they don't complete that proposal, we don't want to manually follow up with them. We want to automate it so we're not wasting time. So we're going to do send form, and I'm going to follow up 48 hours after form is not complete. I'm going to select my form, and then I'm going to select the same form. So I'm resending that form. Then I can grab that canned email template from my blog post. I've already uploaded them in here. And then we're just going to follow up with them. Remember, this will never go out if they complete the first proposal. This will only go out if they don't complete it within 48 hours. I'm going to do another follow-up because sometimes life gets busy, and just remember, you can do as many follow-ups as you want. If they complete this first one, those are never going to go out, but it just eliminates all of those manual follow-ups. We're going to send form 5 days after form is not complete. So this isn't actually 5 days after, because we're adding the 48 hours, so the 2 days and the 5 days. So this is going to go out 7 days after. The way that Dubsado forms work is it resets the timestamp every single time. So if you did another follow-up, you would have to do 5 days after that. So 12 days. So just remember that the time has to be higher. So if I did the second one another 5 days, the two are going to go out the same time. So if you are sending another one after this, you need to start using some decimals like 0.01, because then that knows that it's going to go out 12 days after. Dubsado has a tutorial on this, and I know that all of my clients always get really confused about this, but you just need to note that the timestamp resets. So if you do it the same time and 5 and a 5, they're going to go out exactly the same time. So just be mindful of that. So I'm using this as the final follow-up, saying final call, that their proposal will be expiring soon. You can set this however you want. So my next step is, if they don't complete this after 30 days, I don't want it sitting in my account because they're probably not going to want to purchase my services. So I'm going to add a tag, and they're going to get put into a tag saying not ready to invest. So I'm going to do 30 days after form is not complete. I'm going to select that form, and then you can add a new tag. So I'm going to add a new tag here, and I'm just going to put not ready to invest. And then at 30 days, again, I want to archive the project. So I'm going to archive it at 30 days after form is not complete. Let's go through now. They have completed the proposal and they haven't signed the contract yet. We don't want things to trigger off when the proposal is completed, but they haven't signed the contract. So our next step is going to be hold actions until 0 days after contract signed by client. Holding all of the steps until the contract is signed by the client, because we don't want anything else to trigger until they've signed the contract. Then the next step is we are going to put them into that project status waiting for payment. So we know they've signed the contract, but they haven't yet made the payment yet. So 0 days after the contract is signed by the client, I want to put them into waiting for payment. The next step that I want to do is activate the portal after they have made that payment. We're going to select after invoice installment is paid. And this is where we can select which installment we want to trigger off of. So we're going to do 0 days after contract signed by client. Then the next step, after they've paid and they've activated the portal, we want to put them into that project status of onboarding. So we're going to do 0 days after all previous actions are complete, because the action before is going to be the invoice is paid. So we know the invoice is paid. So then we are going to put them into the onboarding project status. Now, this step is where you can really customize it. So what we can do is, after these actions have happened, we can start a new workflow, and the workflow would be onboarding. And you can send them a welcome email. You can send them the portal information in that welcome email. You can send them a scheduler or a questionnaire. That is really dependent on your processes and what you would want to do after they have signed, paid, and completed the proposal. If you have any questions, just pop them below in the comments.